Hey guys, I wonder if we are live already. Could you just drop a little line in the chat if you hear me and if we are in fact live? I just want to make sure that this mic works and that everything here works because I haven't done a ton of these live videos. So just waiting for a little confirmation over here. Well, I assume we're live, but there's always this delay. It's a little funny when you're in front of the camera because I'm inside the studio thing in YouTube and you're watching it live, obviously. So there's this 10-second delay. But I assume we're on. So let's talk about the recent Google update. I'm still waiting for a little confirmation here on the chat that you can in fact hear me. Let's see. You're on. All right. Thanks, Arn. Thank you, Infinite Dreams and Alexander. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me today. I've been really excited to talk to you guys because a lot of stuff has happened. New course came out. I've also moved house. It hasn't gotten anything to do with these sites, but just a lot of have happened. So it's also been a while since I went live. And let's just start by talking about this recent Google update. I wanted to talk to you guys about that because I mean, it's always a big deal when Google changes things because that's definitely the main traffic source for most of us. It is for me, indeed. So most across all my sites and my portfolio of sites, I'd say some went up, some went down. I think it's a net zero. It's somewhat, I think they even each other out. So I didn't lose any traffic. I didn't gain any traffic. But I pulled up some numbers here. One of my bigger sites got up 27%, and one of my other bigger sites got down 28%. And Go Downsize, that you guys know, is pretty untouched of it. So from this update, there's a lot of seasonality on Go Downsize, obviously, because we talk about boating and RVing and stuff and camping and all that good stuff. So of course that's very, very seasonal. So that always goes up and down, but nothing changed with this Google update here on the 4th of December. So I had a few comments about this, and we were also talking about it in the course community because some people saw gains, some saw losses and stuff. So yeah, it's just a little bit of information. So it has been rolling out over the last week. It landed on December 4th and 5th, and now it's December 11th. And so it's only 1 week old. That also means that we have 1 week of data that we can compare to the week before. And that's how I got the numbers, obviously. So it always takes like a couple of weeks for these things to roll out, typically 2 to 3 weeks, just because there's a lot of data centers. That's one thing. I mean, until Google has cleared the cache and all the servers and all that stuff. But also because Google will release it like partially, because there are always some unintended damage getting done with these updates. So they want to fix those. So they sort of roll out minor updates very quickly. And of course, they're monitoring this very closely. So that also means you should allow a couple of weeks before you freak out. I know that's impossible if you lost traffic, but definitely wait a couple of weeks. Every time I see big gains or losses with an update, I never see big gains or losses. It's almost always single-digit changes. But this time there was some bigger changes for sure, and it's also a bigger update. It's been like 7 or 8 months since Google did an update, so maybe they have more for us this time. So the thing is, always wait it out a couple of weeks if you've been hit one way or the other, because it takes time, and eventually Google will try and fix as much as the unintended damage that they always do. So yeah, so I also had like a few other sites that I want to mention. One in the YMYL space, it went down 31%. It doesn't have a lot of traffic. It's more like a test site where I just do what I always do, just put good content on the site. I didn't do a lot of social media or anything around this site. So maybe it needs that since it's in the YMYL space. I just wanted to test it. But that one was down, but it's actually already recovering half of it after 1 week. I have 2 tech sites. One is unchanged. The other was up 16%. And I have another unchanged site. I have a really old site that's down 10%. That has just been pretty stable. So I also wanted to talk a little bit about what to do if you've been hit, because I saw in the chat already and also in the community around the course that some people had some hit so far. And so the first thing you should do, as I said, chill for a week or two and just allow things to settle and the dust to land, so to speak, and allow Google to fix some of these, what I like to call unintended damages. And then let's see what happens. And then you need to dig into, if you lost traffic, where did you lose this traffic? Is it across the board, or is it just a few articles? Maybe you have a few articles that are heavily in the YMYL space, like health related, financial related, or something like that. Maybe those took a hit. I did see an update from, I can't remember if it was Search Metrics. It's one of the keyword tools that not a lot of people use. It's a German company, really, really cool, doing some great stuff. I used them for years. I think they said that they did see some major changes up and down in the YMYL space. So since this is definitely not a new YMYL update per se, but it might impact you more probably if you are in that space. All right. Yeah. Before we head over to the questions, I just want to mention one other thing. So I never freak out first over these Google updates. For me, as I do a very safe SEO strategy, I don't do link building, as you guys know. Sometimes it's a little bit up, sometimes it's a little bit down. But I mean, mainly if it's down 10, 15%, it just means that I'm delayed a month in the growth of the site. It doesn't really matter that much to me. That's also why I never freak out about it. I didn't even check until a few days later, because it's just how this business works for me. But something I want you to maybe pay more attention to is that Google is definitely moving to the mobile first index. You probably heard that. And they postponed the full rollout from September this year to March next year. So you can go in Search Console now, click settings, and look at which indexing crawler your site is being crawled by at this point. So 50 of my sites have been moved to mobile first indexing. I'm just mentioning this because I think it's more important. And I just see a lot of people who forget to check their sites on mobile. You assume your theme is mobile friendly and all that good stuff, but you still need to check your site on the mobile screen. Check that the ads are showing awesome, showing good there, that the ads are not blocking anything. And also check that the menu works. If you have a drop-down menu, that it does drop down in front of the ads and all that stuff. And make sure that the load times are all right. So that was just a quick thing. But now let's jump into some of you guys' questions. I took some questions on the community tab here on YouTube. And of course, there's also a lot of questions already in the chat. I want to say hi to some of you guys. I already did that on the chat, but hey, Infinite Dreams, hey, Alexander, Will Peets, what's up? August Ferradera, you are in the course also. That's awesome. I see a couple of folks over here from my course. And Solly writes, hey there. We just talked earlier today, actually, on the chat. And hey, Rahul and Will, Melody, Matt Husanka, I've seen you many times on the comments. Thank you so much for showing up. It's awesome. And yeah, let's take a few questions here. I'll start with one from the community tab. So one asked, this is about if you do a rewrite of an article or if you're editing an existing article. Like, do you get into what some people call the sandbox? Just mean that Google will sort of quarantine you for a while. And how long does it take before Google find the new version of your article until you rank where that new article should rank in Google? So I'd say you can, most of the time, if you change like less than 20 to 30% of the article, you'll be fine. You'll probably not see a lot of movement in the search result like instantly. But let's say you want to double the word count. You want to completely rewrite an article. Maybe it didn't do so well, or maybe it just did really well for a short article. I had one of those on one of my sites. It was an article that was like 1,200 words long. So it was a fairly short article, but it was pulling in 10,000 page views. And I just knew it could do so much more. So I tripled the word count. And obviously now we're talking about a whole new article. So it went from 10,000 page views to just being almost dead, like 500 page views. And that's always a little shaky when you do that. But I've done this a couple of times, so I know what's happening. And then after a couple of months, 2 to 3 months since this was an established site, I mean, Google immediately found the update, but it still landed down there in that low traffic volume, even though Google saw the update. So it took like 2 to 3 months, and then it got back to that level, and then it just started to really, really climb. So it went from these 10,000 page views per month to, I think it's sitting around 30,000 page views now. So it's something you can do if you have like a total loser article that didn't do well, if you think you can fix it, and if it's maybe not just good enough to compete, or if you have something where you think there's much more potential here. You did a pretty short, maybe even a thin article, and it's doing pretty all right, so you can do more. So yeah. Let's see if there's a question here in the chat. It's pretty neat now to have this vertical screen next to me because I can see a lot of the chat at one time. So let's see here. How many? So Karar Hussein is asking, how many posts in a day is normal? Like everyone writes as full-time or part-time, as well as how many posts a person should write in a day. So that's a very good question. And I did do a video recently about how much I could write in a month. When I did this full time, I think I landed on 80,000 words. But remember, I've been at this for many, many years. I've probably been writing more than 1,000 articles myself. So that's definitely a lot. And after that, I was really exhausted. You can go check that video if you want to check that out. But I would say on a daily basis, some of my best writers that I know are doing this part-time to full-time, like in between there, maybe 20 hours per week. Some of my writers there will do like 5 articles per week on topics that they are somewhat familiar with on a consistent basis. I would say like over a year. So that'll be a lot of content. So I would say start out with an amount of articles that you feel comfortable that you can do, because it's always better to ramp it up and hit your goal than just to be disappointed with yourself around that. Let's take another question here. Hi Morten, I'm enjoying the course. Thank you, August. Very detailed. I had a question about number of articles in order to get results, like 30 or 50, or how many articles. All right, this is very similar to another question I had over here from the community. So we're talking about like really how many articles to get the site properly launched, or to make it, or like how many articles do you need to write in order to get some good results. And I'd say it depends a lot on like how good you are at this topic research. Because when we're talking about a brand new site, you probably heard me talk about underserved articles, underserved topics, where you find these topics that, I mean, nobody wrote an article on it. You'll find information about it, obviously, on Quora, Reddit, forums, and all that stuff. So these are the type of articles you want to start out with. And if you do a great job of finding those, and you're actually not competing against another article, then really just a handful, 5 to 10 articles where you hit it spot on can really get your site launched. So that's the first step, to really start getting some traffic and start seeing those 500 to 1,000 page views per article, and get those first 5,000 articles. I also have a video here on the channel that's called how to rank faster on Google or something like that, where I'm showing 3 of my previous sites, like just exactly how quickly I get from 0 to 5,000 page views. And if I remember correctly, I think it's between 4 to 7 months. And that's not with a huge team of writers. That's just from my own writing, or just from one writer writing like a handful of articles per week. And I know that's a lot of articles for some of you. If you're new to this, don't be discouraged if you can only write an article over a couple of days. And I mean, if you're doing this like 1 or 2 hours per night, or you have a full Saturday once in a while to do this, it might take a full week to get that first article out. And that's all right, because you get faster at it. That's how we learn, right? We get better at it over time. All right, let's find another question here. Somebody asks here, hey Morten, how much time does it typically take to rank on the first page for an underserved topic? So it's kind of similar. I actually just looked at one of my recent sites. Is a site that I started almost exactly a year ago. I started in December last year, and it has around, I think, 270 articles at this point. So of course, the vast majority of these articles have not been ranked in Google yet because it's just new content. But some articles, maybe 30 or 40 of these articles, have had a good time to rank now that they are a year or almost a year old. And that site is getting to 100,000 page views now. And I was looking at some of the best articles there from the early ones where I really found a good underserved topics. And a handful of those actually pull in 5,000 page views after 5 months. So I was pretty excited about that. So from 0 to 5 months, then some articles, like just a single article, would pull in around 5,000 page views. So this is one of my recent sites where I'm using all the knowledge that I've gained over the last couple of years also. So it's one of my recent sites, and it's also some of the stuff that I teach you guys inside the course on how to do this and how to really nail it with these first topics. All right, I'll take another question here from the community tab here on YouTube. Somebody asked, how do you gain backlinks naturally? And this is a great question. And this is something that I mainly keep exclusively inside the course because it's so vital to the process. I have 5 distinct types of articles in the course that I go over, like how I use those to get links, to get more links. But something you can do on your site, regardless of what content you put on there, is to make sure that the about page and the front page just look stellar, really look like an awesome site. Take a look at some of the biggest sites in your industry and just see if you can mimic what they do. I mean, you instantly see that this is a huge site. If you can build your site to look like that, so a journalist and a blogger and anybody who wants to vet you as a source, want to figure out if you're a credible source, when they land on your about page to see what you're all about, how you came about this knowledge, what experience you have, and they check out the front page and sometimes also the footer, just look like a huge site from the beginning. That's so important, because if you look like the next blog, Bob's blog or whatever you want to call it, like somebody who doesn't really know what you're talking about, maybe that's where you are, and that's all right. But don't do that. Don't put that on the about page that I'm totally new here, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm just trying to figure this blogging thing out. That's not a great about page. You want to state there exactly why they should trust you, why you have great content, and start with facts so people will see, I did this for that many years. I grew up around a neighbor who knew everything about that. My mom and my dad did this. My mom taught me to play the piano when I was 5, just really anything. It doesn't have to be an education or credentials or professional training you had or courses or certifications. It can just be like a good friend of you got you into this like 5 years ago, and now you've been really going at it, or whatever hobby or interest it is about. Just state at the top of the about page why people should listen to you, and don't start with a long essay about who you are, where you grew up, and why you like dogs or anything like that. I think you guys get it. Okay, let's see if there's another question here from the chat. Hello, Morten. That's this user 123. Do you think that it would be a good idea seeking personally advertisers without relying on ad management companies? Okay, so should you go out and negotiate direct deals with brands instead of using a premium ad network like AdFry, Zoic, or Mediavine? And I've tried that on some of my sites also before we had these ad networks that would do all this for us, when back in the days when there was only AdSense, and it's a pain in the rear to do this. I mean, it just takes a long time. So, I mean, if they reach out to you, you can do it. You can allocate like the top banner for a month. You can totally do this with the Zoic, and I'm sure you can do it with AdFry. I know it's easy with the Zoic to just tell them, don't touch the top banner. And you can even wrap it in a little bit of code. So a Zoic will know this does count like an ad. So they will not like double down on ads on the rest of the site, because they will know there's an ad up there that they didn't put there. So you can do that if people reach out to you, but I wouldn't recommend you start reaching out to brands to do this. Even I met a guy in San Francisco at the Zoic conference last year. They had like one dedicated person in the company to just do this. But this was a really big site. If I remember correctly, it was bikerumor.com. bikerumor.com, a really, really great site you could look at. They're doing some fantastic stuff over there, but they had a person dedicated to it because they're so huge in the bike industry about mountain biking and all that stuff. So for them, it makes complete sense because they're so huge and they do a lot of stuff with the brands. I mean, they work closely with them. They do some really clever stuff like FAQs, and they invite them on to talk about stuff on their channel. And on the side, they take questions from the readers and have them answer them and cool stuff like that. But I mean, if that's not where you are, if you're doing everything yourself, you should not do that. You should just let the advertising networks do it, because your time will be much, much better spent creating content or editing your writer's content or wherever you are in the journey. All right, this is fun. Let's take another question here from the community tab. When to write affiliate articles? Like, when should you start adding affiliate articles? He's asking about how to check, and to take into account the competition and the approach to do it. Should you do best X for Y? So that's the question. And I'd say there's not a specific time you need to wait until you can do affiliate links or affiliate type articles. Do that from the very, very start. If you can find underserved articles that are like best X for Y or something like that, or just list posts or anything where you feel like you can list a lot of articles and put on affiliate links, there's no need to wait till you have X or C amount of traffic. Do it early on, but you need to find an underserved topic. So that's the thing here. Typically, it's easier to find underserved topics if you're new to this, especially if you're new to topic research. You should probably not start by just typing best and then type the first product in your niche, because you'll probably not find a lot of underserved topics there. But in case you do, and if you're good at this, I mean, if you stumble over one, definitely go for it, because it'll just get you ranked faster since it's an underserved topics. And why not pick up those affiliate links on the side and throw them in that article, because then you'll have the opportunity to both earn some money with the affiliate stuff and the ads, of course. So yeah, so go for it if you can find those underserved topics. All right, let's pick another one here. I need to scroll a little bit. John Moore asked, did any of your sites increase in traffic after the update on the 4th and 5th and the tank around the 7th December and lose lots of traffic? Okay, so we just touched on that. So overall, just to repeat it, my sites are doing fine. I didn't take like a major hit on any of my sites. Some went up, some went down, and it evens each other out. Let's find another question here. Somebody's asking, can you use the people also ask box there in Google? When you do Google search, we have this people also ask section. Can you use that to find what I call underserved topics? And absolutely, these are great topics. So just as we use Google autocomplete, we can use people also ask. It's the great place. You can use it for the main topic of an article, or you can use it for a subtopic. You can, a subheading inside bigger articles. So it's definitely a great place to look. I do that regularly. There's some repeated questions here. Let's try and find a new one. Flowback is asking, hey, is it easy to outrank authority sites, but not exactly on point to what I searched for in Google? All right, so you found a topic and somebody is obviously ranking up there. It's not a forum, it's not Quora, it's not Yahoo Answer. It's a big authoritative site, but they're not completely on point. So this depends on like how much on point they are or they aren't, I should say. So if you feel like they are, in fact, answering something else, but they just happen to rank there because obviously Google has to rank something up there, I would go for it. If you feel like you can create a better headline, I mean, it's mostly about the headline, really, because if the headline looks like it answers your question, but then it might not really answer it inside the article, then you'll probably have a hard time beating it. But if you feel like you can craft a much better headline, and that other article, when you open it up, it's not really going into the good stuff about this topic, then I'd go for it, because Google will realize that you have a better headline. And it's not just about mentioning the keyword or looking if they have the keyword, all that stuff up there. You can totally rank for a topic also for keywords in Google that you don't even have in the headline or even on the page. So don't think too much about keywords here, but just really, really think about, is this other headline and the top of the article when you go in there, does it answer what you are considering whether you should write about? And if it's not, then go for it and just create a much better headline. Yep. Pravesh is asking, have you tried Ezoic video ads? If yes, can you please make a video about it? I need to test it out. I actually haven't been using it so far. I have video ads on some of my AdThrive sites, but I need to get on with it in the Ezoic. It's still in beta, but I think it's, from what I've heard so far, is that Ezoic is doing a great job with these video ads. And I mean, they were a little late to the party. I've been bugging them about it. I think 2 years ago when I met them in San Francisco, I asked them they should definitely look into that. Of course, they thought about it. It's not like I told them to do it or anything like that. But you can have now video ads with AdThrive, Ezoic, and Mediavine. And it's doing great. So regardless of what ad network you're on, you should test that out. It's just that some of the sites I have on Ezoic I haven't gotten around to yet, or it doesn't really make that much sense with the niches. So yeah. Let's see let's take another one here from the forum. Somebody asked, what will an experienced blogger gain from your course? So as you guys probably know, I put out a course like a couple of weeks ago, so it's still brand new. And I'll say I have a great deal of experienced bloggers in the course. They all told me they love it. Some of them told me that they earned the money back like in the first day or two, just from picking a few tips and updating that on their site. And sometimes it's really just one tip that will make the whole difference when you buy a course and you already have a lot of experience. But I would say there's a lot of unique tips in the course that I came up with and that I haven't shared anywhere on the YouTube channel, or anywhere for that matter, that I just kept to myself. And if you want to watch like a review from an experienced blogger, check out Sean Mars. He did this cool guy from the UK. He did. I love his accent. I mean, who doesn't? Sometimes I don't really understand what he's talking about. We did chat a little bit, and I mean, I love the British accent, but it's not always easy for me. But he's a great guy, and he's also in the community, and he's also joining us on this building sites together that we do on January 2nd. But he did a review of my course on his YouTube channel. And I would definitely say he knows what he's doing. I mean, he's been at this for a while. He's seeing some fantastic success that you can go and see. And he's putting up income reports and stuff on his YouTube channel. So he did a complete review of my course, and he's telling in the course, in the video, that for one module, so there's 9 modules in the course. It's actually 9 courses, but for one of the modules, he took a full page of notes that he wanted to implement on his site. So I was really happy to hear that. But check that out. And as I just mentioned here, if you haven't heard yet, on January 2nd, I start a site in the course community where I document everything I do. I mean, from how do I come up with the niche? How do I research each topic? How do I do everything? I'll film everything and really show it raw and unedited. So you also see when I get stuck and what I do when I pivot and when I try to search out the niche to figure out how to lay out the site and how to do the content plan and everything. So if you want to join that, just join my course in the description of this video, or just on passiveincomegeek.com. You'll find my course on the front page, and join me there if you want to see how I build a site completely from scratch. And if you want to do it with me and with all the other guys in there in the community. I've had a fantastic launch, I must say. I already have more than 100 people in there. I'm really, really honored, and I'm really humble about that. I'm a little bit overwhelmed, and I'm really thankful that you guys trust me with my process and that you want to build with me. So thank you so much for that. Let's take another question here. Bloggers on the rise. Hey there. We also talk a little bit. Hey Morten, do you have experience with sites getting picked up by Google Discover? If so, any tips? So this is definitely something I need to look more into. I feel like I've been living under a rock for the last many months as I tried to finish the course, because I promised you guys I would launch it in November, and I wanted to stick to that. And then midst of it all, we bought a house. You can see here, we're still like have boxes we haven't unboxed. I just put one picture up right before I went live, because otherwise it would just be completely empty. It would look stupid. So this is something that I have on my to-do list to definitely look into. I can see in the statistics that I actually do have some traffic there. I just need to take some time to dive into what is working there and what's not working, and what kind of traffic and how stable is it and all that stuff. So I'll probably come back to that. Next question here. That's the same question. Matusanka asks, I have a dog website. I hired 3 veterinary undergraduates to write articles. In my about page, I mentioned about them with some description with a link to their LinkedIn profiles. Is this sufficient? I think that's a great way to do it. It's great that you hired some professional writers. Still, I'd say, even though you have professional veterinarians writing on your site and you're linking to their LinkedIn profiles and so on, we never know when we're doing enough for the Google YMYL test. So I cannot tell you that doing this or doing that or doing XYZ, then you can definitely write about YMYL stuff around dogs. So I would advise you to absolutely stay clear as much as possible for the first 50 at least articles. Don't touch on anything that's YM related, even though you have vets writing for you. But then after you have some traffic, let's say you're starting to see 10 to 20,000 page views per month on your site, test it out. Just test out and see if you can rank for, is X healthy for a dog to eat, or can I do this to my dog? Can I use this shampoo or whatever? Just something that's kind of in the YMYL space, and see if Google will rank you for it. They might, since you have some traffic and if you have good numbers and that. But I think it's a great idea to link to the LinkedIn profile on the about page. And if they have a site where you can see the practice they have, if they are working like part-time or full-time as that, I would definitely link to that. And really just dig into as much as possible about how professional they are, how long time did they do this, what education do they have. If not for Google, then for the readers, and also, as we talked about briefly before, for anybody who's looking to your site to see if you are a credible source for another article. It could be a journalist, a blogger, or whoever wants to see if they should link to you. So by showing that, you're really showing that you have great content from experts, writers. So I would definitely do that. Yep. I had another question that I thought was kind of interesting because it's right down my alley. Somebody asked in the community tab here on YouTube, how did you know when it was time to leave e-commerce? So this guy told me, or said to me in the comment, that he's seeing some great success with his e-commerce site. So he asked me, how do you know when it's time to leave e-commerce and just focus on content sites? Because obviously he acknowledges that content sites are more passive. So, and that's definitely true. I've been into e-commerce several times. That's how I started out in 2007. And that's where I took my first SEO steps, you can say, back in the crazy days of old school SEO. So I would say I started 3 e-commerce adventures, and I'm just totally done with it now that I know what these more passive sites can do. So how did I know that? So of course I saw some success with my content sites, and I would say if you trust the process and if you join the course and get all the steps right in creating the site, I would have absolutely no hesitation in saying you should definitely let go of the e-commerce site if you want a more passive business. If you want to be able to travel for months and just really put up your feet for a month or 2 or 3 once in a while. Maria and I have been traveling in Thailand, spent some time in Chiang Mai with some awesome SEO guys, and also in Africa, several countries there. We've been to Nigeria and Kenya. We went to the States. Well, you guys know we've been traveling a lot, but we did this only after we left the whole e-commerce gig a couple of times, and we started going full time with the blogging thing. Even before that we were earning like a lot of money, because we just saw that it was possible and we wanted that lifestyle. So if that's you and if you want a more passive business, I'd say it's definitely just ripping the bandits off. sell that e-commerce site. If it's doing well, if it's on the rise, you can probably get a pretty decent site price for it. And if you ask me, it's just getting more and more and more expensive to do e-commerce because there's bigger and bigger players in every corner out there. Amazon is going into every country right now. They just started in Sweden. They're going into tiny Denmark here, where I am, probably next year. So I decided that I wanted to make the move from selling products and being a sort of a brand or a company myself who needed to advertise to get traffic to my site, because you can typically not rely 100% on organic traffic. If you want to grow an e-commerce site, you need to buy traffic, and the amount of money you want to spend on advertising, like on Google ads and display ads and all that stuff, it just eats up that amount of money that you should make. So I wanted to move from buying ads to be the one who shows ads and earn money from these ads, because I could see that the ad earnings or the ads are getting more and more expensive. So I saw this from the other side of the table. I saw how I had to just every year pay more and more and more to get the same amount of traffic. And it was not like it was converting double. I mean, we could work on the conversion rate and we could build a greater e-commerce site. We can also, it's the same thing about drop shipping. Or if you wanted to, anything where you're selling products, really, if you need to get a lot of traffic to a few product pages, it's very different from doing a content site or doing an affiliate site. So I just wanted to shift over here because I could see that the ad earnings or the amount of money you need to pay to get traffic from ads was just skyrocketing. And we see that year over year. The best place to see that is if you Google, I think it's called Esoic has this graph. I think they call it the advertising index. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but if you Google something like Esoic advertising index, I think you'll find this graph, and you can zoom out. You can see like a 5-year span. You'll just see how year after year they hit a new record high on Black Friday, and this year obviously was insane too. So yeah, so that's how I knew. I just knew that I wanted a more passive lifestyle. Let's find another question here. What can we find? I want to find something that we haven't talked about yet. Okay, Melody is asking, do you do SEO research and give keywords to your freelance writer, or do they do their own SEO research? I definitely do the research for them. And I like to call it topic research because I don't want you to think about keywords anymore. We talked about this, when you look in the keyword tools, it will only show you the number for one search phrase. And one article will often rank for hundreds of search phrases. So you need to combine all those and you won't know what you're going to rank for. And also on top of that, the numbers are stupid. I mean, let's just talk about this a little bit, because earlier this year, a huge company called jumpshot.com shut down. Check the website, JumpShot. And this is a company that would get user data from, I think it was, I don't want to say exactly which antivirus company it was because I'm not absolutely sure. But it was one of the big players in the antivirus app environment. So one of the bigger players there would install this malware software on millions of clients, like customers, and then they would get the search data there. So they ran into some problems. It makes sense with all the privacy rights and stuff like that. They couldn't just sniff up people's search history like that, just from a little consent box that nobody understood. So this company, JumpShot, they supplied Ahrefs and Moz and many of the other keyword tools with data, like how many times do people click this, and then it could calculate numbers like how many searches does this get per month. And this click data totally disappeared when that company died. I think it was in March this year. So the data has just been getting worse this year. And I don't believe the keyword tools will get better and better data, because I think it'll become harder and harder to get good data. So unless you are Google and you have that data, I don't think you'll be able to get your hands on good data. So that's just a huge side note here to tell you a little bit of the backstory about how I believe keyword tools would just continue to get worse, and the numbers are definitely off. So that's just the first thing I wanted to say about that. But no, I don't give my writers a list of keywords or anything like that. I give them a very specific topic, and then I spend a little bit of time explaining to them exactly what I mean with this topic. And then I ask them to write the best possible content. So I'll give them an outline for the article. I'll give them the subheadings just to make sure that they stay absolutely on topic all through the article. So I want to make sure that if they, can I come up with something clever, like how to purchase a MacBook computer or this webcam here? No, how to install a webcam on a MacBook, for example, like an external webcam. Then I don't want a section about what is the best webcam or how much should it cost, because it's not at all what people are asking about. I want every section in that article to be about how you install that webcam and nothing else on that. Then you can link to other articles if you feel like you have great content about how to buy it, how to do all that other stuff. But make sure that everything in the article is about that. And almost no writer will do that right off the bat. They will go into a lot of different things that has absolutely nothing to do with the headline that you gave them if you don't give them anything else than the keyword or just a headline. So I'll give them all the subheadings, like how to install it on a Mac, how to install it on a PC, how long time does it take to install it, what much does it cost to have a professional install it, like should you do it wirelessly, can you do it wirelessly? Just dive into everything that people would search for when installing a webcam if you wanted to rank for that. Obviously, that topic would probably be way too competitive. It's just an example, but just stay on topic. And that's why I don't let my writers just go off track and write the best possible article they think they can and do their own keyword research or whatever. I give them a very, very clear and well-defined topic, and I give them the subheading so they can see exactly what I want in the article. All right. Somebody asked in the community here on YouTube, on my site, I'm only getting most of the traffic from a few articles. So a few blog posts bring in almost all the traffic. And he's asking, is this normal, or is his site broken or weird or anything like that? So I'd say in the beginning, this is very, very normal. For the first year or two, you'll have some really, really strong winners that will probably drive 20, 30, if not 40 or 50% of the traffic. And if we take it even earlier than that, in the first year or in the first 6, 7, 8 months, you'll just have one winner all of a sudden, and that will drive most of the traffic. So that's not a problem at all. It's a problem if your site has hundreds of articles. And let's say you have a huge site that's like 3 or 4 years old. Like if this happened on my site Go Downsize that I've shown you guys a couple of times, where I have like 700 articles. If one of those articles would bring in like 40% of the traffic, or maybe even 50%, I mean, of course I would love that article. That'd be awesome. I would be happy to have that traffic, of course, but it would make it very likely that somebody would take over that one article and cut my traffic in half. So I would definitely, at this point, if it's a mature site with tons of articles, if this happens at that stage, then I would definitely look into, I mean, this somehow happened to me once last year. I had one article that's just driving like, I think it was like 50 or 60,000 page views all of a sudden. And of course I was crazy happy about it, but I really, really tried to dig into exactly what triggered that article. Like in Search Console, you can see all the tons of keywords and search phrases that it ranked for. I really, really tried to carve out other articles that were similar. Of course, not similar enough that it would be sort of the same article. You should never write on the same topic twice. But I tried to see if I could replicate the success. Like if it was about a specific product, could I write a similar article about a different product? Could I talk about the same thing in another industry, around another brand, around just really, really try the best you can to replicate the success there, to get more winners like that, because that's a fantastic opportunity. So back to the question here, is it normal? It's very, very normal when it's a new site. Let's say your site is 6 or 12 months old. It's very normal to have just a few, 1 or 2 articles that bring in the majority of the traffic. But over time, you probably don't want that, because it's just too risky that another site can come and take over that article and almost kill your site. All right, Simon. Hey there. I like the Go Downsize hoodie. Thanks. Yeah, I did a couple of those. Actually, quick note on this. This is from a company called Threadless, and I mean, sorry to say, but the quality here is just it's just stupid. I mean, this was even the premium quality. I don't know if I can show you, but this is so bad quality. There's an error here in the print, and it's you can see. I just want to show you because some of you guys asked me if you should like ship private label products like for your brand on your site. See here how it's actually ripped here because it's only been sewn with a single thread here. It's just not all right. I mean, my wife Maria, she's been sewing for many years. When she saw this, she's like, "Oh, this is horrible." So yeah, this is just a test shirt I did, and I'm using it. I never started selling anything because the quality was too poor. So don't go with Threadless. I think it was a company. I want to make sure because now that I'm sort of dissing them, let me just check that out here. Yep, that's the company. So use something else if you want to sell like brand shirts from your site. I was also thinking about doing some passive income geek shirts and something like that. And I just need to find another company. If you know a really, really good company that does like good quality, like they will print it for you, like a print on demand, who will ship worldwide, let me know in the comments because I want to find a good company that I can use for a Go Downsize for some cool shirts. It has some print on the back as well with an RV. I can show you here. I wanted to do something cool. I can't even show you that. And I want to do that for a couple of other sites as well and for a passive income geek. So I need to find a better place to get that printed and send out worldwide. Some company you can trust. So let me know in the chat or send me an email if you know that company. Somebody else is asking here. All right, Raul is asking, can I get my blog posts sponsored by companies that are related to my niche? Yeah, you can totally do that. I mean, you can wrap your site in you can let them do what you can call like an ad takeover. And again, if you do this with Zoic, I know you can do it. And I guess you can do it with AdThrive. I haven't checked, but with Zoic, it's easy because you just mark that these are ads, so they will not show ads there and they will still count it as ads. So you can do that if you want to brand it that way by wrapping, let's say, a section of your site, a whole category, or the whole site for that matter, for a month. You want to do like complete takeover with ads. Sometimes you can do that and get a really good price if they reach out to you. You can, of course, also just put a line up there or put a little video or something like that. And I mean, like the pre-roll stuff people do on YouTube, where they will say it's sponsored by or something like that. You can totally do that. Just state specifically that it is sponsored and that it's advertising, so you don't mess with Google on this. Somebody's asking here. Revo's asking, as a rich Denmark guy, do you have a Bang & Olufsen TV? That's one of the major brands here in Denmark. No, actually, I haven't. They're actually not doing that well. I don't think their latest designs are doing all that great. But my dad-in-law has that TV. So Bang & Olufsen is a Danish design company. Somebody's asking. Flowback is asking, hey, what are underserved topics exactly? Can you please elaborate a bit, please? All right, I've been mentioning it many times. I wonder if I ever took the proper time to really explain what an underserved topic is. Maybe it's time at least to repeat it and tell you guys what it is to me today. So for me, an underserved topic is what you want to start out with on a new site. When you just launched a new site, you want to start with what I call underserved topics. So that means that Google doesn't have anything to serve up there. So you do the search in Google and you see the first results are not on point. Maybe they are results. It's typically results from a user-generated site, meaning the site where every user can just go in, create a profile, and discuss and stuff and put their 2 cents up there. For example, Quora, one of the big ones. Reddit is a big one. Could also be Facebook, Twitter even. I mean, all social media. Also, to some extent, Pinterest, but don't compete with them if the intention behind the search is to find pictures. It could also be Yahoo Answers. So all these user-generated sites. If you find those at the top of Google, you can compete against it. And that is what I would call an underserved topic. But it could also be a search like a topic where you don't find any user-generated content, but the articles you find at a position 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they are not on point. Let's say you did a search about, okay, let's stick with this webcam because I'm looking at one right now. How to install a webcam. Let's just imagine this impossible scenario where nobody had wrote an article about that. So let's say you're searching for how to install a webcam on your MacBook, and the first article up there on Google is about 5 best webcams for MacBooks. Number 2 is probably something like a review of one of those, and number 3 is just an eCommerce site showing webcams. So there's no real information about how to install it. And maybe those sites that are ranking 1, 2, 3, maybe it's Amazon, maybe it's one of the biggest. I mean, maybe it's wired.com or something like that, like a crazy huge site that you normally couldn't compete with unless they are not on point with the topic. So that's what I would call an underserved topic. It's a topic where what you find up there in Google doesn't match the search you just did, like the topic you want to write in, or you want to consider if you should write an article about. So that's an underserved topic. And you want to start out with those on your site because you rank so much faster. Like I mentioned previously in this video here, on one of my recent sites, I just saw that within 4 to 5 months from I bought the domain name and installed WordPress and started putting articles on that site, from just one blogger I have on that site, I would get 4,000 to 5,000 page views from an article, like 4 or 5 months literally after I registered the domain. So that's great. I would say this can only happen if you're targeting these type of underserved topics. Even if you do go crazy with link building, you will not see that. I believe not, because Google will not let you rank that fast and that quickly. It even defies what some people call the Google sandbox. I don't know if I believe in it. I don't really care about it. I know that normally it takes like 7 to 10 months to rank a good site and to get really good traffic. Yeah, that's just how it is. You can call it sandbox, you can call it whatever you want, but that's just how long time it takes. Yeah. Okay, we've already been at this for 53 minutes. Somebody asked in the community tab, so this guy is a little short on cash. Can I start on Blogger.com and then migrate my site to my own domain later? So this guy is looking to save some money. He told specifically that he doesn't have any money at this point. So he wanted to figure out if he could start on one of these, what we call Web 2.0s. It's Blogger, Blogspot, just all these sites. You can also start a blog on Facebook if you want to. Some people do that. But a site that you don't own the domain, you're just allowed to blog on somebody else's site like Blogger.com. And I would say you should never do that for a couple of reasons. So first, you do not own the domain name, so they can do what the heck they want with it. But that's probably, I know Blogger.com is probably not going away. But the thing is, when you want to migrate that site, I mean, you should never plan to migrate your site. You should never start here and know that you want to move over here, because sometimes that doesn't go too well. Many times it does if you follow all the rules in the book about how to do redirects and all that technical stuff. But you don't want to mess with that. So that's the first thing. It's not always a secure path. It's not always, you're not always sure that you can move that traffic elsewhere. And the second thing is that you're typically not able to set up the redirects that you want on that platform. Sometimes, I think with WordPress, if you blog on WordPress.com, that's when you are not hosting your own WordPress, but you're just allowed to blog on something like johnsblog.wordpress.com. I believe if you stop blogging there and you want to continue on your own domain, you can set a redirect from that domain, but not per article. So let's say somebody sent like 15 strong links to one of your articles that really did well, and now you're starting to see some momentum. When you move that site over to your own domain, which you definitely want to do at that point, you will not get any value from these links pointing to an article if they didn't link to the, what can you call, the root name of that blog on blog, like bobsblog.wordpress.com. So you'll only be able to redirect like the main root there and not each article. So that's also why we don't want to do it. And I had one more reason. What was that? just because it's a pain in the butt. You don't do it. You definitely need to save up that. I think it's $40. I did negotiate a new good deal for you guys over at Host Armada. If you don't know where to host your site, I used to recommend Bluehost, and some of you guys really got angry with me about it. I had some really straightforward comments on my site, on my YouTube channel here. People sort of starting to hate on me because I recommended Bluehost. I figured, what is up with Bluehost? I mean, they always treated me really well, and I had, like, I've grown many sites to 100,000 page views on Bluehost. But it seems some people really, really hate Bluehost passionately. And then I started digging into like what people, I mean, other than me, experienced on Bluehost. I asked in my community. I had a lot of stories there. I asked in a couple of other places. I asked somebody I know in the industry who really know what they're talking about. And they said that I was probably lucky that I didn't have any problems with Bluehost. So they told me some pretty dumb stories about that. So I didn't want to recommend something that a lot of people had very bad experiences with. And it seems like it's the corporation behind Bluehost. They also run a HostGator and many, many other hosting companies. I can't remember the name. I mean, I don't care that much about hosting. I just need something that works, and then I'm at it, and then I go for it. I'm not super, super technical in that regard, only on SEO. But yeah, so I reached out to VP Eagle, and he told me, like, here on YouTube, he's a really cool guy. And I asked him what should I use instead, because he was one of the guys who told me to stop recommending Bluehost. I mean, when I asked him specifically, he was definitely not harsh or anything. He was very, very polite, and he's a very cool guy. But I just asked him about it and said, I think you should recommend something else. So I asked him, and he did some testing, and he recommends hostarmada.com. If you want to check it out, go to my tools page. I can also leave a link in the description. So go to Passive Income Geek /tools. There's a link in the menu on my site. Because there's a discount code, there's a voucher there that will give you a 75% discount. So you'll have a full year where you get a domain name and you get hosting for a year for $40. That's a pretty decent deal. And they also told, so of course you'll have to pay more in year number 2. That's how it is with these deals, right? But I actually reached out to them and told them that I had a blogging course and I have a community here. I want to give you something great. I wanted something extra from them because I'm not just their average customer. So they told me, they gave me like a point of contact, like a guy in there that I should ask you guys in the course to reach out to when you want to renew, and then they will try to keep you close to that price. So it won't double or anything like that. But yeah, so that's for people in the community in who took my course to get that contact. But I mean, all of you don't have to take my course to use this discount code for the first year. Just go to my, and I should say it's an affiliate link. So of course I'll get compensated for doing that. So go to my tools page if you want to see what I recommend there. Kevin says, I use Spreadshirts. They do a great job. Thanks. Okay, I'll have to check that out. I heard about him. I just really got disappointed with this other one. And then, I mean, I didn't move on with it. I have to check them out. And let's find something else here. World of Aviation asks, good quality and large number of TÜV keyboard articles versus Google quality and large number of KGR articles. Okay, this is very technical. Which is better? Let's repeat that. Good quality and large number of TÜV articles, keyword articles. I don't know what he means with that. Versus Google quality and large number of KGR articles. Okay, I'm not exactly sure what you mean here. Maybe you could repeat it. But I know the KGR stands for Keyword Golden Ratio. It's Doug Cunnington who came up with this way of finding topics or keywords to write on. And I used that method back in the days, many years ago, but now I'm not using it specifically right now. I don't know exactly how it will work these days, but I definitely like Doug. I think he's cool. So go check his videos if you want to know more about the keyword golden ratio thing. Melody asked, what ad ads program or affiliate program do you recommend for beginners besides Google AdSense without much page view requirements? All right, so so I recommend for affiliate, I recommend you don't put all your eggs in the Amazon basket for obvious reasons. If you've been following this industry for the last year or two, so Amazon has just been slashing the commissions a couple of times. So I would recommend you go with Share a Sale, Commission Junction, Avant Link if you're in the outdoor space, something like that for affiliate offers. And for the ads on the site, well, you only really have one really good option if you're a site with a lot of traffic, and that's to go with the Zoic. And that's a great option because they do great. So with the Zoic, normally you'll need 10,000 page views, but I can get you in from 3,000 page views because I made a good deal for you guys, so you can get in quicker. I always like to negotiate with these guys to give you guys something extra. So if you have 3,000 page views, I should say from organic searches on Google. And if you don't know how to figure that out, go into just Google it and figure out what that is. You want the traffic to be coming from Google search. It's easy to find that inside Google Analytics. So if you have 3,000 organic page views from Google in a month, just shoot me an email and I'll connect you with some guys that I know with the Zoic. Actually, you'll get to work with the team that my sites are working with. And also, of course, if you have more traffic, I can get you introduced to the team that are taking care of my sites, and they can get to work on your sites as well if I refer you. And again, that would be an affiliate link. So thank you very much. Moverman, hey there. I met this guy in once. He's a great guy. Could you talk a little bit about Google Search Console and queries? How to come up with articles from lots of impressions and low clicks. Yeah, so that's definitely a great strategy. So when you go into Google Search Console, and first, if you haven't been using Google Search Console, you need to sign up right now because there's some really cool data in there. And you can also link it to Google Analytics to get that data over there and get even more data on top of that. So you can build some pretty cool reports right out right there. And so, so with Google Search Console, you can sort by impressions, meaning that how many times does a specific search trigger your article on Google Search without anybody necessarily clicking it. So you can see how many times you showed up, not just how many clicks you got, but how many times you appeared on Google for a specific search. And when you filter it across your site for, like, let's say you took like the last 90 days, so now you have a good deal of data to look at. And then you sort it by impressions, and you'll start seeing, okay, so this search phrase was the one that I showed up for the most in Google, and this was the second most, and the third most, and the fourth, and so on. Start going through that list and see where you appeared the most times in Google and where people didn't click so much to your site. So you'll be able to see how many clicks you got. And if you're using the old, it's old now, the Google Analytics Universal Code, not the new Google Analytics, but the old one, then you'll be able to sync the two, and it will list another column with the click-through rate. So it's a little technical, but it just means, like, out of the number of impressions, and now that they know how many times people clicked, you'll see how many percentage of people actually clicked over to your site. So let's say you showed up 10,000 times for this search query. Maybe that's the best one you have up there. That's the one that you appeared for the most times. And 10,000, and then 1,000 clicks is what you got. Then you will have like 1% of click-through rate. So you will want to find those where you had a lot of impressions and very few clicks, because obviously there's an untapped potential there. So that means that one of your articles is showing up there, but people are not clicking on it. So for this specific search phrase, many times you can find specific questions in Google Search Console and see. So you appeared for this question and this question and this question a lot of times, but very few people clicked it. That means that you have an article that's getting showed there. That means you can compete, and that you actually have an article up there is a pretty good sign that you could do it again if you wrote an article that's even better. So you want to write a new article on those topics that you find there, those questions or those topics that you find where you get a lot of impressions but few clicks. You want to write something that people actually want to click on, because obviously they didn't find your headline enticing enough to click it. And maybe you shouldn't go in and change your headline, because maybe you're triggering a good deal of other searches. So maybe it's getting you a lot of traffic. If it's not, maybe you should change it. But if you are getting some decent traffic to this article that's getting shown there without people clicking it, get inspired from these numbers to write new content for these specific search phrases. So that's a great way to go after that. And remember, this is data that only you have access to, because nobody else can peek into your Google Analytics and your Search Console data. So it's not like this is also showing up in all the keyword tools or whatnot. So it's a great source of data to dig into when you start seeing some traffic. Well, I'm gonna end here in a few minutes. I just want to take 1 or 2 last questions, and if I didn't get to your questions, I'm sorry. Please just post your question on my latest video. So this one will obviously be the latest one, but next Friday, I'll have another video. Then post your question there, because then I'll definitely answer it. I answer all the questions on the latest video always. Sometimes I try to get to the second, the third, and the fourth most recent video, but I just can't. There's no way I can keep up with the comments on my YouTube channel anymore. So that's a positive problem for me, and not so great for you when you ask questions and it just drowns out there. So leave your questions and just repeat it on the last video, because then I'll see it if I don't get to your question now. And of course, if you've taken my course, just ping me in the community. Of course, I'm in there daily. Okay, let's find 1 or 2 last one here. How about a Passive Income Geek Discord channel so we can all help each other? Well, that's actually what the course is for. That's a community in there, so I want to keep that there. Switch and Click ask, what's your opinion on updated content versus writing new stuff? Yeah, so first, if you heard me talk about this on the channel before, I try to go for evergreen content, like content that can live on for many years. So because I really don't like to spend time updating content, and I don't want my writers to spend time going back and fixing an article. So I try to do that. And even, I would say, in niches where you wouldn't think it's possible, it's still possible. Let's say you're in the tech niche. Maybe you have managed to get into the very competitive niche of iPhones. Let's say you would think that nothing is evergreen if you had a site about iPhones, but that's not completely true. Like, for example, how to clean this little thing down here. That would be the same across all iPhones. And something like repairing the screen, stuff like that. It's maybe not 100% evergreen, but you get the idea. You can typically dig up topics that are evergreen, so you don't have to go back and update them. But if you do have articles that really needs an update, I would go into Google Analytics and see where you lost traffic. I wouldn't update an article if it still gets a good deal of traffic, unless, of course, it's just offering downright bad advice or wrong advice. Then I would obviously go in and update that. I don't want to fill the web with spam, but if you want to check that it lost traffic, and you can do that just by going in, looking at the last 30 days in Google Analytics compared to the same time interval like a year or 2 ago, and then just sort by traffic and see where the difference is negative. Like if it's 50% less traffic over the last 30 days compared to 2 years ago, then you'll know that, okay, it had traffic and now it doesn't. it's tanking. Then you can go back and maybe you can fix that. Maybe you just need to update a few things and then it's up to speed. Maybe it's just about going back and call the article iPhone 12 instead of iPhone 5 or whatever. And maybe the information isn't like 90% the same. You just need to do like minor updates. I do that. But mostly I just go for evergreen content. Okay, let's see if I can find the last one here. Hey, Adrian, hasta la vista, boss. Thank you for showing up. I've been on his channel a couple of times. Check that out if you haven't done so. Adrian is awesome. Yo, bosses, sup? Just dropping by to say hi. Hey there. I think that's a good note to end on. Say hi to Adrian in the chat if you want. And there's just so many good people here. Adam Silton, hey, I love you. It's just a guy who have been helping me with some stuff. He's really awesome. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for chiming in here and hanging out with me. I know it's just a huge monologue when I go live alone. It's also really, really fun to go live on other people's channels. I've been doing that on VP Eagle and Amelia Gardner, and obviously on Hasta la Vista Boss, Adrian. Sup, guys, over there. Yeah, so it's been a lot of fun. I will try not to make it, not to wait as long till I go live next time. And I'll see you guys, and thank you guys for stepping by. And be sure to, I'm so sorry for the comments I didn't get to and the questions I didn't get to. Leave them on my latest video that I put up next week, and then I'll definitely answer them, all of them, in the chat there. Okay, guys, have a good one, and see you next time.